going on, everybody? It's Alex Fischbein back again with another Fisch's Friday Rant. And I am sorry about last week, about not having another episode. I was sick, and I couldn't really say more than like 10 words without coughing in between. So, we are here today on another Friday, on a historic Friday. Not because of the inauguration, but because a man who averages a triple-double was not voted in as a starter for the All-Star game. Now, obviously, and yes, I didn't run down a list of topics of what we're doing today. We're just jumping right into this thing. Now, he will probably get in the All-Star game. And let me start off by saying that when we talk about players' resumes and their body of work throughout their career, we do not say, oh, so-and-so was an all-star starter this many times and an all-star reserve this many times. No. What we do is say they were an all-star X amount of times. As a lot of the times you may have heard, like 6 or 7-time all-star Joe Johnson. And so on and so forth. We talk about how many all-star appearances they have. So, the fact that someone isn't an all-star starter isn't really that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal unless someone ridiculous got in as a starter. If, say, now no disrespect to him, but if, say, Zaza Pachulia got in as a starter, that would be ridiculous. Especially with guys who deserve it a lot more than Zaza does. I mean, even a guy like Rudy Gobert deserves it worlds more than Zaza Pachulia. And not even, I honestly don't think Rudy Gobert is going to get in because of Anthony Davis already being voted in as a starter, and DeMarcus Cousins is still there. He's probably going to get in as a reserve. And as far as, centers go, they're not really voted into the All-Star game that much anymore because, A, a lot of people don't really care about watching big men anymore, and B, there's no dedicated center spot anymore. So with the whole front court thing with the 3 forwards, it could be all 3 small forwards, kind of like the East have as starters right now. Anyway, getting away from what we really want to talk about here. Russell Westbrook is averaging a triple-double. As pointed out by Inez Cantor, he has 21 triple-doubles this season. This season. So far, and we're only halfway through the season. All the All-Star starters combined have 19 triple-doubles. So, this one player has 2 more triple-doubles than the 10 of these guys combined. And mind you, 2 of them are James Harden and LeBron James, who have a decent amount of triple-doubles in their careers so far. And you mean to tell me that Russell Westbrook did not get voted in with these guys? Now, and see, here, this also brings up the debate about should fans be able to vote or not. Because the reason Westbrook is not a starter in the All-Star game is because of the fan vote. The tiebreaker was the fan vote. The breakdown was fan vote was 50%. Media vote 25%, and player vote 25%. So, what happened was that Curry was number 1 in the fan vote, and he was 3rd in media player vote. Westbrook was 3rd in the fan vote, and 1st in media player vote. So, the thing is, since the fan vote is worth more, Steph Curry gets in. And Harden was 2nd in all of it. He was second in fan media player. So Harden's in. Which they got right. Harden should be in. So, as I was saying, this brings in the debate of the fan voting. Now, there are plenty of people who say fans shouldn't be able to vote at all. There's some people who say it should only be fans. The media and player voting was kind of dumb. And, I mean, people do kind of have an argument for that, because when you looked at all of the player votes, guys like Ben Simmons got votes for the All-Star game. He hasn't even played a single game. And when it comes to that point, yeah, that does look a little silly. You have guys that maybe don't really care about the voting and will just throw random votes in there. Or you have teammates that want their teammate to get into the All-Star game, so they'll vote for their teammate and then try not to vote for the guys who they think are going to be competing with them for that ultimate position to get into the All-Star game. However, you also still do have fan voting campaigns like the one of Zaza Pachulia to get into the All-Star game. So, with this whole fan media player mix, it did stop things like the Zaza campaign to get in the All-Star game. But it also did things like not bring Russell Westbrook into the starting position of the All-Star game. And here's the thing. Personally, I think the fan vote should stay. All-Star Weekend is about the fans. Here's the issue, though. When we talk about players and we bring up player A is better than player B over the course of their career, we bring up championships, which personally, honestly, doesn't make any sense to me if we're saying player A versus player B. If I was comparing the Bulls to the Celtics, okay, you bring up championships. Those are that's a team award. Anyway, let's get off of that topic. So, player A versus player B. We talk about championships for some reason. We talk about MVP awards, All-NBA. We talk about Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, scoring titles, leading the league in rebounds, steals, assists, shooting percentages, all that kind of stuff. We talk about that. And we talk about how many All-Star games a player has made. So, if you're going to keep this whole thing just the fan voting, like if you're going to go back to only fan voting, and a guy like Zaza gets in as an all-star starter and bumps off one of the other big men that should be getting in, then you shouldn't use all-star games to talk about a player's legacy to compare them or anything like that. You just shouldn't. Because if you are allowing that kind of thing to happen, where guys who do not deserve to be in the All-Star game at all are getting in, then you shouldn't use that in any kind of resume for Hall of Fame, for a guy's legacy, in an argument, anything. Now, if you combined everything and you get the results like we did right now so far for the starters, you can use a thing like All-Star games as a arguing chip, because it's not just the fans voting in who they like more, or who has the better Twitter campaign, or who's better at making jokes and posting GIFs. It's more of people who take it serious, combined with those people who just kind of like the Twitter campaigns. Now, me personally, I think instead of this 50, 25, 25, if you're going to have all three, why not just make them all 33%? Why not just give them all their own equal percentage for all three things and just say, here it is, and hash that out? Like, in a tiebreaker, just do total votes. Because when it comes down to it, if you're going to break a tie with somebody, usually, and by tie, I mean, say you have somebody like first, second, and then in the third category, you have them like second or something. Actually, I just like kind of debunked my own tiebreaker thing there because there's 3 categories. So if you're first in 2 categories and second in the other one, then you're still first in 2 categories. So you're going to get the vote. So in that situation, Westbrook would be in because he's first place in the media and player, third in the fan, and Curry was third in media player. So in that situation, Westbrook would get in. So, and with Zaza, he was like second or third in fan, but then like almost last in media and player. So therefore, he would not get in either. So yeah, I don't understand why they don't just put it all equal weight, all 3 things, and with like the player vote and everything, there's still gonna be some random votes in there. There's still going to be some things that like they vote for a teammate that maybe hasn't played or something just because they don't want their other teammate to be hurt in his All-Star campaign. That's still going to happen. And I mean, there'll still be media voting for their hometown guy. So those kind of things are still going to happen. But when you look at the discrepancies between the lineups, I know in the East you had the players voted in I believe it was Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie Irving, or it was either Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie Irving or Lowry and Kyrie Irving. And the fans voted in DeMar DeRozan and Kyrie Irving. So in that case, the players got it right. Because also, not even going back to the Westbrook point, in the East, there definitely should have been at least one of the combo of Isaiah Thomas, John Wall, or Kyle Lowry in the backcourt. There should have been. It was really dumbfounding to me that even DeRozan got in over his own teammate Lowry, because even all of the advanced stats and everything show that Lowry has been and still is more important to the Raptors' success than DeRozan. All of the stats show that the team is a positive on offense and defense when Lowry is in with the bench without DeRozan. And then if you swap that, if you have DeRozan on the court with Lowry on the bench, the team isn't as good. So even in that situation, like, Lowry is even better than his own teammate who got in as a starter. So like that comes down to the fact that like the media and the players voted more for Isaiah Thomas and Kyle Lowry than DeRozan, but the fans voted DeRozan in. So, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they have something here with this mix of player, media, fan vote, but instead of weighting one more than the other, you might as well just make them all equal weight and see what you get out of that. I mean, at least try it one year. I don't see the harm in that. And see what kind of lineups you get. Because it is pretty ridiculous that Westbrook didn't get in as a starter. And like I said earlier, in the grand scheme of things, these guys are probably still going to get in as reserves. And like I said, we don't say so-and-so was an all-star starter 3 times and an all-star reserve 2 times. We say he's a 5-time all-star. So, in the grand scheme of things, like right now, it's not that big of a deal. But it is kind of dumb that a guy like Westbrook, who's averaging a triple-double, didn't get voted in as a starter. It just is. And I like, even Curry knows that Westbrook should be a starter. I mean, Curry will have that pride and like he won't admit it. But in the back of his mind, he knows too. He knows too. So, moving on to something else I want to talk about real quick. This whole thing with Melo and Phil with the Knicks right now, where he met with him and was like, look, I'm not waiving my no trade clause. And then all of a sudden today, a couple of Knicks beat reporters talked about how Melo said, well, I'm not waiving my trade clause, but if they tell me that they don't want me anymore and that they want to rebuild for the future, then all right, I'll waive the trade clause. What kind of sense does that make? Why not in the first place go, hey, if you don't want me here, I'll waive the no trade clause? Why bring up this whole drama about I'm not waiving the trade clause? And about how like he kind of went in there and like defied the management and said like, hey, I'm staying and that's final. And then all of a sudden be like, well, if you want to build for the future, I mean, I guess I'll waive the no trade clause. What is the point of that? Why, like, that's just stupid. It bottom line is just stupid because you try and act like loyal to the team by saying, no, I want to be with the Knicks and I want to, try and help them succeed and be with the Knicks and try to like show the fan base that you guys can do it. And then all of a sudden be like, you know what? Hey, if you want to build for the future, cool. I'll waive the trade clause. We can work something out. Like, why? It just doesn't make sense. You might as well have said that in the first place. And one of our other writers on the Basketball Society, DJ Allen, wrote a great piece, I think, that said, Melo, just waive the no trade clause and try and go somewhere to win. Like, I'm not even a huge Melo fan. I always enjoyed his game just because of how great he of an offensive player he is. Like, watching him when he was on Denver was really fun. And I think he could make a competing team really interesting. Like, this whole idea of him going to the Clippers and playing with Chris Paul, he's never had a point guard like that. He had past his prime Chauncey Billups in Denver, I think, at one point. And he did have Allen Iverson, but Allen Iverson was another guy who was more of the guy taking most of the shots, not a true point guard like Chris Paul, who is going to find Melo open a lot. Like, he will. So, I think that would be really interesting. Now, is it going to help the Clippers' defense? No, because Melo doesn't play much defense. If they have to trade him, are they going to trade Blake Griffin? That's another thing. Like, is that going to be better than having Blake Griffin? Who knows? We would have to wait and find out. But, bottom line, the Knicks have to realize that this is becoming Porzingis' team. Like, this, even right now, I would say this is Kristaps' team. Like, they have to realize what they have and realize who they have to build around. Because if you keep using Melo as the centerpiece and surrounding him with guys like Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, you're not going to get that far. I mean, you might sell some tickets based off of their names, but you're kind of like stunting the growth of Porzingis because you're not making him your number one guy, and you still have Melo and Derrick Rose putting up okay numbers with very low percentages. And then you get weird drama like this about the whole no trade clause. I don't really know, like, it's just a weird situation they got going in New York. And I don't think anyone understands it. The beat writers, the coaches, the front office, the players, I don't think anyone really understands what's going on. They're kind of just like, we'll see what happens today. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching another episode of Fisch's Friday Rant. I'll be back again next week with another one. And Definitely make sure to check out our website, www.basketballsocietyonline.com. And check us out on Twitter at @bballsociety_. We're also on Facebook, The Basketball Society. And I'm on Twitter at ThatKidFisch. That's Fisch. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.